YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to the Off the Schneid 2020 NFL Preview Series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their rosters, their schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time at the channel, do me a massive favor, hit that like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and check the description for links to social media for Off the Schneid. Follow us on there as well. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com for helping to make these videos. I'm on their website almost daily, and if you're a serious football fan, guys, you need to have this website bookmarked, favorited, whatever it is. Helps me at draft time, fantasy football purposes, when creating bet slips, as well as DFS lineups. It's your one-stop shop for NFL scouting services. There's a link in the description for OurLads.com as well as the social media. Do me a favor again, hit that like and subscribe button. But enough of that. Let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. All right, we're taking a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to start, as we always do, quarterback. They got the best one that ever lived. In my opinion, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, and he is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. It's going to be weird to see him playing for not only any team besides the Patriots, but he's going to look a little strange in a Bucs jersey for some reason. Him and Rob Gronkowski will look strange in a Bucs jersey. That's just my opinion, but whatever. That's what's going to happen, and it'll be an interesting kind of marriage between him and Bruce Arians. So we'll see, but Tom Brady is their quarterback. It's a great pickup. It makes tons of sense for the Bucs. Absolutely. He's definitely going to make a few better decisions than Jameis did last year. I honestly think if Jameis threw 10, maybe even only 8 less interceptions, maybe even 6 less interceptions, the Bucs are potentially a playoff team. They're 7-9. They're kind of right there. They're in a lot of games, running gun. But, if they can get more efficient and have a better running game this year, which I think both of those things are very possible, I think they make the playoffs. And we'll see in the record prediction what I have them going. But there you go. So behind him, you got Blaine Gabbert, who I think is fine as a backup quarterback. He was thrown into being a starter way too early in Jacksonville. And I think it hindered his progression and the possibility of him being a starter long term. And that's pretty much, that ship has sailed now. He's 30 years old at this point, and that ship has sailed. But I think if he could have been brought along a lot slower, he might have had a better career as a starter. But either way, I think he's an absolutely fine backup, and he knows this offense. So nothing wrong with Blaine Gabbert there. Ryan Griffin too, that's fine. But Blaine Gabbert's going to be the backup for sure. So move to running back. We got Ronald Jones, who they drafted, I think, in the 2nd or maybe 3rd round a couple years ago. But he's definitely going to get a shot to win that job. Peyton Barber's gone now. They did draft Keyshawn Vaughn, who will have a chance to win that position, win that starting job as well. Dare Ogunbowale, I actually quite like. If you're a little bit of fancy advice, if you're in a super deep, maybe 12, 14, 16 team leagues, PPR type of thing, look at Dare Ogunbowale late in the draft, or for cheap in an auction draft. I think he definitely has some value in a PPR league. But either way, I think that they definitely need to improve in the passing game. Absolutely, they need to improve. In the run game, they need to improve and get a few more, especially with Tom Brady now instead of Jameis Winston. They need to get a few more yards, first downs, that kind of thing. Ronald Jones averaged 4.2. That's fine. But you'd like to get it up to about 4.5, something like that. And you just need to take the pressure off Tom Brady a little bit. And I think that should be doable with Vaughn and second year of Ronald Jones. They probably have the best tight ends in the league, depth-wise. O.J. Howard, Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, even Jordan Leggett's there. That's fantastic. Anthony Auclair, even that's phenomenal. I think they have the best tight ends in the league, and I think they'll be running a ton of 2 tight end sets, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 running back. There you go. I think that's what they're going to be looking at quite a bit. Wide receivers, they might have 2 top 10 wide receivers. I absolutely think Mike Evans is still underrated somehow. I really, really, really like Mike Evans quite a bit. And Chris Godwin is fantastic as well. People think he's like a slot receiver type of thing. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I just think that they're 2 phenomenal wide receivers, regardless of where they line up. I think they can both line up in the slot, outside, whatever it is. And they got some decent depth because Justin Watson, they lost Rashad Perriman. I'm really not concerned with that at all. I really am not. Tyler Johnson they drafted, who's definitely going to be a good depth wide receiver for them and can contribute right away, in my opinion. And Justin Watson's very good in my opinion as well. I really like Justin Watson. Scotty Miller's still there, so I'm not concerned with losing Rashad Perriman at all. I think they're just fine. For me, they're in the same position they were when they had them, and that's just my opinion. And they might be in a better position because of the tight end depth that they have. Where the big problem lies on this team, mostly on just this offense, I guess, is obviously the offensive line. I gave them a pretty rough grade. I gave them a D grade for their draft, mostly because I think if this were another team and they had different needs, I would give them a higher grade than the D. Tristan Wirfs, for me, was my number 1 tackle in the draft. And they got him at, 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that, right around there. I can't remember off the top of my head. 13th, there you go. But that's not enough for me. I didn't really love the... I like Antoine Winfield as a player for sure, and I think he probably starts on this defense. But and Keyshawn Johnson, same thing. I don't mind him, and I think he could be the starter. Tyler Johnson, not a bad pick at all. But they needed the offensive line depth for me. I really wanted, and it was there. The guys were there for them to pick. They had the capital. The players were there. They were ready to go. You can't be happy with how your offensive line looks. Honestly, you just can't be. I'm not. And it's definitely a concern for me. They had 47 sacks last year, which is too many. That's too many, especially, Jameis is more mobile than Tom Brady. Jameis Winston's not a running quarterback, that's for sure, but he's more mobile than Tom Brady is. 250 yards rushing, that's not terrible for your quarterback. There's no 0% chance Tom Brady's rushing for anywhere close to that. So he can't kind of save himself is what I'm getting at. And Jameis could sometimes. He could help himself in a lot of those. Plus he's huge. He's way bigger, So I wanted them to take a little more offensive line. Get a few more offensive players. Sorry, offensive linemen is what I continue to say. But they did add Joe Haig. I like that pickup from Indianapolis. I don't mind that at all. But I just thought they needed more. I thought they needed more depth. I thought they needed more help. Even if there's an injury on this offensive line, it's going to be a disaster for this team. Yeah, it's going to be rough in my opinion, but we'll see. That's the only reason I gave them such a rough grade on their draft is because I thought they needed to do more for the offensive line. That's really what I thought, but it is what it is. Coaching staff is fantastic. Bruce Arians is very good. I'll let it be known right now that quarterbacks have had a tendency to struggle in their first year of his offense. That's just been a history that's ongoing and has been ongoing. Quarterbacks have had, and no quarterback has been Tom Brady. I'll say that too. So we'll see. But that is a thing. Byron Leftwich moves into offensive coordinator. I think he's an extremely talented mind, and he's being groomed by Bruce Arians since he was, I think, still playing in Arizona. Todd Bowles, man, one of the better defensive guys in the league, in my opinion. I think Todd Bowles is fantastic. I think he had a bad rap in New York. But either way, I think the coaching staff is fantastic. They have the best quarterback ever and a coach on the field in Tom Brady. So they should be more efficient this year. I'll say that. Defensively, again, Todd Bowles, fantastic defensive coordinator. Can't say enough about Todd Bowles. I think that they're going to have a bit of a regression as far as their run stopping. They did lose Bo Allen and who else is there? There's another guy I was looking at that they lost. Carl Nassib. There you go. Jeez. Carl Nassib and Bo Allen. They lost both those guys from the defense and defensive lines, I guess. I mean, Carl Nassib was a pass rusher type of guy, but either way, I think that those are big losses, and then no one kind of came in to help out. I still think that they're going to be top 5 for sure in run D with Vita Vea. Vita Vea is phenomenal. Sue can still get it done, especially in the run game. William Golson is good in the run game, absolutely. And then Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett there getting after the quarterback. So I still think that they're top 5 in run D, but I think they might regress a little bit. And still, where their big issue is in the secondary, absolutely, is their big problem. They have 2 of the better linebackers in football for inside linebackers. I think that they're both phenomenal. I think Devin White will get even better. Even Kendall Beckwith is a very good depth linebacker. Kevin Minter can still get it done. So they're absolutely fine at linebacker. And then getting after the quarterback, they're fine too, until I just heard recently, I think Shaq Barrett's thinking about, or I'm not sure, has he signed his, I'm not even sure if he's signed the franchise tag yet, but I had no concern about him being on this team, but now all of a sudden some things are starting to bubble up, which are concerning. Definitely concerning. If this team doesn't have Shaq Barrett, they're going to be in some trouble, but I think they absolutely will. They'll get either a deal done or he'll sign it or something. I suspect he'll be on this team, and I suspect that he'll be starting and playing every game. I hope so, because he's on my fantasy team, so hopefully he does. But either way, I think they'll be just fine defensively, except for on the back end. Now, I'm not saying their defensive backs, their cornerbacks are bad or weak or anything like that. They're just young and inexperienced. There's nothing wrong with that, and you have to let them play to find out. You might back yourself into having a Jalen Ramsey and AJ Bouye situation. Jalen Ramsey was drafted as such and was supposed to be that what he is, but AJ Bouye wasn't quite. So Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy Bunting, Jameel Dean, MJ Stewart, all these guys, you got to let them play and see if one of them becomes one of those types of guys. And they absolutely could. 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them, 1 of them, who knows? Like, you got to let them play and let them see and just let it figure itself out, You kind of have put yourself in that situation anyways, and it's not a terrible situation to be in. It's really not. At least they're young, and you can mold them, you can train them, you can teach them, all this kind of stuff. So I think that it's not a huge issue. It's just that they're young and inexperienced, and they can be taken advantage of, especially in this division where you got the Saints, the Falcons, with fantastic wide receivers that have seen everything. So that's my only concern. And last year tells the same story. They were pretty high up there in sacks. Top 7 in sacks last year, 47 sacks. But they allowed 30 touchdown passes, which was again in the bottom 7, something like that. So if they can improve on that, which they should, I just think it'll kind of balance out with their run D pulling back a little bit, and then their pass D getting a little bit better. And I think it overall might just kind of balance itself out. We'll see. And again, I love Todd Bowles. I think he's a fantastic mind, and he can definitely do the best with this roster. So we'll see what happens. I really like this team. There's a couple holes still, especially on the offensive line. And I'd really like another pass rusher to kind of help out and spell those guys, especially Jason Pierre-Paul, who's a little bit older. But there you go. Let's take a look at their record prediction and their schedule for 2020. All right, there you go. You got the low, high, my for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like I've said in previous episodes, I might like the Falcons more than the Bucs to potentially win this division. I think the potential is there for 3 teams in this division to get to the playoffs. There's definitely potential for the Saints, Bucs, Falcons to all make the playoffs with that added wild card spot. But I have the Saints winning this division fairly safely, to be honest. I really do. I think the Bucs will obviously be better than they were last year. 7-9 last year. I think with being more efficient and taking care of the ball more, you obviously cannot throw 30 interceptions, and Tom Brady is not going to do that. Even if he struggles, in Bruce Arians' offense, like a lot of quarterbacks have, he's not throwing 30 picks. It's just not going to happen. So there you go. Low, high, my. I mean, if they finish 7-9, that's an absolute disaster, and maybe they had a big injury or something like that. High side, definitely 6-10 is attainable. I'm going with 9-7. I'm going with 9-7 because I just think that they still have too many holes, especially on that offensive line, and I don't think their run game is going to be there to support Tom Brady as much as he needs it to. That's just my opinion. So week 1, they got at the Saints. I like the Saints to get that win at home. Like I said in the Saints episode, and I might catch a lot of heat from Bucs fans on this one, but so be it. In that game, I think the Saints are really going to want to assert their dominance in this division. That's what I feel like that game is going to be all about for the Saints. At home, get that win, assert your dominance, tell the Bucs we're winning this division. That's what I think is going to happen. And that's kind of like indicative of how I see the records going. So there you go. I'll probably take some heat for it. It is what it is. At home against the Carolina Panthers, they definitely get that win. Absolutely, they get that win. On the road against Denver, I have a feeling the Denver Broncos get that win. I really do. I like the Broncos a lot, and they're going to, like Bradley Chubb and Von Miller against this offensive line. I don't like their chances, and Tom Brady is a little bit stuck in the mud at this point in his career. So I think the Broncos are going to get that win. With their secondary in trouble too, the Bucs defense is just as good, probably better all around than the Bucs defense. So I like the Broncos to get that win at home. Yeah, absolutely. I like them to get that win. Then they're at home against the Chargers. They definitely get that win as well. So, first quarter of the season, you're sitting 2-2. You can see where I'm getting my projections from. Short week on the road against Chicago. You got Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack on this offensive line. That's tough. That's a tough game on a short week on the road. Tough game. One that they might not get the win, to be honest with you. Then at home against Green Bay, that's a very tough game as well. Green Bay is a cold weather team playing in warm weather. They're gonna be loving it, So that's a tough game, and the defense, again, they're close, but I think the defense for the Packers is all around a little bit better. It'll depend on how good the Packers, passing offense is with their limited wide receivers. I like some of the guys on that team, but that might be one where the defensive backs can kind of catch their breath and show who they really are for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we'll see. At the Vegas Raiders. New stadium, if there's fans in the stands, that'll change things. I like the Raiders. That's a tough game. Kind of a toss-up game. I think that's absolutely one that the Bucs can win and probably should. If they want to be a playoff team, they have to beat the Raiders there. I think the Raiders are more fringe than the Bucs for sure, but I do like the Raiders. At the Giants, that's another one you have to win absolutely if you want to make the playoffs. The Giants shouldn't be, I don't think will be a playoff team. And considering it's NFC, if you're the Bucs, you got to get that win. And I think they probably will. Primetime game, Tom Brady versus Daniel Jones. I'm going with Tom Brady. At home against the Saints, they probably tie it up there and get the home and home split is the most likely scenario. On the road against Carolina, I think they get that win, and they have to get that win, and they get that win for sure. And then at home against the Rams, I think the Rams kind of fall off a cliff a little bit this year, and I think that they are a bad team, and I think the Bucs get that win for sure. At home against the Chiefs, with this secondary, unless by that point in the season, at least one of these young corners has really, carved out a role as being kind of a shutdown corner. If that's happened, they got a better chance at winning this game for sure. But even still, there's so many weapons for the Chiefs. I think that the Chiefs can come into Tampa Bay and get that win. I really do. It's the Chiefs. They're the best team in the world, Super Bowl champs, and then they get their bye week, and that's a fantastic time to have your bye week for the Bucs. Week 13, that is fantastic. They can rest, they're a veteran team. They're well coached. They can rest. I think that that's the one of the better bye weeks that they could have. Absolutely. If it's not 12, then 13. That's the last bye week. Them and the Panthers, I believe, are the only two teams that have the week 13 bye week, which is the latest I've ever seen. And I think that's the latest I've ever seen a bye week. And it's obviously because of what's going on with the world. They might have to switch some things around. So that's why it's happening, as far as I know. And it's a great spot for the Bucs to have a bye week. Then at home against the Vikings, they get that win pretty much for sure. I really like them to get that win. I'll go with a split for Atlanta on the home and home. And on the road against Detroit, that's one that they kind of got to win too. I mean, again, it's extremely similar to that to the Raiders game there. Did I say NFC, or did I say that for a different team? Chicago, maybe? Raiders are AFC. I don't know if I said NFC when I was talking about the Raiders, but either way, Detroit is an NFC team, so there you go. NFC. That's two fringe kind of teams that are both trying to make the playoffs, in my opinion. I think that the Bucs will get that win on the road, indoor stadium. I just think, and they should have everything figured out by then. Unless Detroit's just that much better than I'm kind of projecting, which I don't think will happen. I like the Bucs to get that win. So, going up and down the schedule here, you can kind of see where I got my projection from. I do suspect that they push for the playoffs and probably get in, most likely. I mean, Tom Brady hasn't missed the playoffs, I don't recall, the last time. So I expect the Bucs to get into the playoffs, but I don't think they win this division. I really don't. I think the Saints get there. And 9-7, 10-6, 9-7 could absolutely get them in the playoffs this year, absolutely. And I think that's probably a fairly safe place to put them. So let me know what you think in the comments. I might take some heat from Bucs fans, but it is what it is. If you're afraid to be wrong, you never be right. So there you go. Let me know what you think. And there's your breakdown record prediction for the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.